Hi guys, welcome to another episode with Conversations with God in Nature, where we learn more about wildlife and what God wants to say through them. I'm your host, Franz Vermaak, a guide and storyteller of God's wonderful love. And we are filming here in the great Kruger National Park. It's 2 million hectares, very big, home to the big five and many other species of animals. So it's very exciting to do our Kruger adventures here and be surprised with what God wants to show us every day. So every episode is quite unique and a surprise on its own, and we're going to see what God's going to show us today and what we can learn from it. What can we apply from it? Because we believe that God's voice is hidden in all of creation. God's voice is hidden all around us because God is constantly speaking to us. And we know from God's voice, we find what we need for every situation in life. There is solutions, there is hope, there is joy. And it sustains us in every situation in life. Like Jesus said, man shall not live by bread alone, but from every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And therefore, we are on the lookout for these animals. We are on the lookout for these hidden treasures that God has given us and that He is giving us every day. Right, so last time we talked a little bit about what's your favorite animal. Some of you commented, some of you didn't comment. So if you haven't shared with us what's your favorite animal, please take the time, comment in the comment box below, share with us what is your favorite animal. I said my favorite animals are birds of prey, especially the martial eagle. It's one of our biggest eagles here. It is so strong and so powerful that it can actually take on immature impalas, like baby impalas. I'll see if I can find a picture somewhere and show it to you guys, because it's quite rare sightings, but it is quite something to see. And it shows you the power that those eagles have. So it's really something to see. Then we are obviously here in Kruger National Park. It's 2 million hectares. It's very big. There is a lot of species of animals and birds here that we can see. So I was thinking maybe you can help me out. What checklists do you think we should have? Right? Obviously we have a checklist for the big five, and we've already spotted 2 of the big 5. On our very first episode, we were so blessed to actually see a leopard. And I mean, to see a leopard during this time of the year when it's in our rainy seasons and when the bush is very thick and lush, to spot an animal that's that well camouflaged and that close is really a blessing from the Lord. So yeah, we already have the leopard and we already have the elephant. We also saw elephant on the first episode and also on the second episode, yet though I didn't have a very nice sighting of them. So yeah, we still have 3 of the big 5 that we need to see. Probably we'll see some of them today. So what other checklists do you think we should have on these episodes? And share with us what those are. And share with me what's your favorite animal so that I can be on the lookout for these favorite animals of yours and share a little bit more interesting facts regarding them and about them. And maybe you already know some interesting facts about them that you would like to share with us on these episodes as we find them and discover them and film them and see. Maybe there is something that God wants to teach us through that experience. Awesome. So hope that you guys are doing well and that you guys are excited for this next episode. So let's see what we can find. extremely quiet. The bush is quite still this morning. I know it's very thick and lush because, we've been having lots and lots of rain. And I know I'm saying that every episode, but it's true because we've been actually having lots of floods in South Africa throughout the country. And more in the southern parts of Kruger, we also had quite a lot of floods, and they've actually shut down some of those roads there. So you can just imagine, how lush and thick the bush is because of all this rain we are getting. And that just makes it a little bit more difficult to spot the animals and to actually see them because they're also very well camouflaged. So I'm trying my best here. Looking out for the small things that sometimes goes unnoticed. Remember last episode, we learned about the klipspringer and how we almost missed that beautiful sighting because sometimes we just drive past the small things. So yeah, let's continue to be on the lookout and let's see what we can find. Rest camp, and I'm going to come and look at the Letaba River because, like I said, we've been having lots of rain. But I want to show you something interesting here. This is the life size of an adult bull elephant. Look at that. Isn't that amazing, eh? Now this kind of gives you a realistic view of how big this thing is. African bull elephants can weigh up to 6 tons. So that's something to take into mind. Like, that is huge. All right, so let's go and see what the river looks like. So as you can see, it has come down quite a lot. All that, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. But if you look closely, you can see that all that grass is full of mud, which actually shows how strongly it used to flow. The Letaba River is a river that quickly dams up and quickly drains again. So here you can kind of get a view. We'll see if we can maybe just travel next to it. You can see that the Letaba River is still flowing very strong. Look at this. So here we are. The Letaba River. Whew, sun is quite sharp. You can see the size of this river, eh? So, I was thinking about camouflage this morning. Thinking about maybe talking a little bit about that, as though we are having a really hard time spotting. Sorry, the wind's blowing my hair crazy. As we are having a very hard time spotting these animals. And a big reason for this is because, of their camouflage and their camouflage abilities. So This hair of mine is going crazy. Oh my goodness. Anyway, good times. All right, so what's amazing about this camouflage is there's actually different kinds of camouflage, okay? And this also makes it really hard for us to spot these animals because they are so good at this. And the main reason for camouflage is to obviously protect themselves from their predators that's trying to kill them. So it's a survival game, and it's basically fear motivated if you think about it, all right? So you get, I can't remember all the names exactly because there's quite a lot of them, but you get the concealing coloration, which refers to a type of camouflage where the animals try to blend in with their surroundings. Like, let's say, for example, the soil is a reddish color. So then you'll find most of those animals that live there have like kind of that reddish color in their, in their hair or whatever. Like with lion, for example. Lion kind of looks very similar to the color of the soil or the ground that they live in, which helps them also then to obviously camouflage and blend in order to get close enough to their prey. All right, then we get something that's called disguise, which is the form of camouflage where animals pretend to be like something in their environment, like for example, a dead stick. So they disguise themselves as non-living things, okay? For example, the stick insect pretends to be a stick, but it's not a stick. Some moths and some butterflies, if they close their wings, it almost looks like a dead leaf on a tree. So they pretend to look like something that is non-living, and that's what we call disguise. Then the other one is mimicry, which you probably are very familiar with, is where an animal tries to look like something living, like a dangerous or poisonous animal. So they are normally have very bright colors. Like for example, the Mupani moth has got these two big round spots on its wings, representing like big eyes. So when its prey, which is birds, comes to try and attack it, and when the moth tries to fly away and opens its wings, all of a sudden there's this surprise coloration or the surprise pattern that looks like eyes of its prey, that of the bird, and then it gives the bird a bit of a fright, and it gives the moth maybe enough chance to get away. Something to bear in mind. And as I was thinking about camouflage, I was thinking about, don't we as human beings also do that in many ways in life? We maybe not call it camouflage, but we can maybe call it comparison, right? Now, comparison is not entirely bad because we need role models in our life, right? We need people that inspire us, that motivates us to actually do that what we are afraid of, to actually do that what we might not even believe that we can do. So therefore we need to compare ourselves to some extent, but it can never be in an unhealthy way. And what I mean with an unhealthy way is when it begins to become a fear motivated thing. Very similar like what we see in God's nature, like with the animals that tries to protect itself. When it comes to the point of trying to protect ourselves, that is when we kind of lose sight of our uniqueness, the unique giftings and talents and skills that God has given us. And we forget to celebrate that, right? And even like with camouflage, that there's different camouflage. With comparison, there's different comparison. We get the upward comparison where we look up to people and we could be inspired by their lives, by their stories, and we want to be like them. But sometimes we find ourselves feeling dismotivated. We just feel like, that's impossible to achieve because we are not them. We can't be them. And it can quickly lead to a place of feeling hopeless or feeling despondent. All right, so wait, there's cars coming. Sorry about that, guys, but the wind and the cars passing by created way too much noise for me to carry on recording the rest of that, what I want to share with you guys regarding camouflage and how this applies to our spiritual lives and what we can learn from God's nature and what He wants to teach us, what truth He wants to declare to us through this, what He revealed to us about camouflage. Now, like we saw with the first kind of camouflage, which is called concealing coloration, where animals blend in with their surroundings. They blend in with the background color of their environment. And in so many ways, we actually see this in today's life as well, where we as people, if we just take social media as example, like to do what is trendy, We see that the trendy thing has been approved by society, people like it, we get more views, we get more likes, and we can maybe even become famous for something that is trendy. And there's nothing wrong in doing a trendy video or something like that for entertainment and enjoyment. Don't get me wrong on that. But I think when we do it for the wrong reasons, when we try to actually just blend in with society, when we just do the trendy thing to blend in, to be liked, to be accepted or received, then it can be really harmful because we draw our worth and our value from something that someone else is doing, We try to blend in, we try to look like our surroundings, like our environment, if you hear what I'm saying in that. And we forget to actually see our own uniqueness. We forget to actually celebrate the giftings and the talents that God has placed inside of us, and it limits our creativity to actually explore this uniqueness, to explore the talents and the amazing things that God has placed inside each and every one of us. And maybe we are afraid of failure. Maybe we are afraid of being rejected. I don't know what the fear is that motivates us sometimes to go in this concealing coloration, if you hear what I'm saying, that causes us to go in hiding, where we hide behind these trendy things, or where we hide behind whatever social media profile or thing we put out there. We don't have to do that when we know who we are. And I want to encourage you to do that one thing that you are afraid of. Maybe you always wanted to play the piano, but you were afraid of failure. You were afraid of, not being liked because you're maybe not as good as people that you look up to. But I want to challenge you to just start. Just start. You just showing up every day is enough. You showing up every day is already a success. Because we can actually learn from failure. We don't have to be afraid of failure. Failure can actually be a very good teacher when we actually learn from it. It's not something we have to be intimidated by, but it's actually something we can learn from. And I want to encourage you with this. It's like, believe in that what God's called you to do. God will always empower that what He commands us to do. So you never have to be afraid of being alone. You never have to be afraid that God's not going to support you, that God's not going to help you, that God's not going to empower you. God will empower you in everything that you do because He is with you, He loves you, and He cares for us deeply. So do that thing that you've always been afraid of. Overcome that fear. Take that risk and show up every day. You showing up every day is already enough. Learn to celebrate progress and not perfection, because else it can really lead you to a place of camouflage, lead you to a place of, just blending in with the background, and you're missing out on your own uniqueness, on your own giftings and talents, and the value that can bring to society, and the worth that you can discover in that what God has made you to be, And then with mimicry, the other form of camouflage, we maybe see a little bit more of a prideful or arrogant approach to this camouflage, where mimicry is normally when animals try to pretend to be bigger than what they are, like with the moth that has the patterns of eyes on its wings that makes it appear that it's bigger, like it's a face with big eyes on it. Or, other animals that tries to look like a dangerous animal. They mimic dangerous animals. They try to look like a dangerous animals with either the patterns or the coloration or even in behavior. And in actual fact is they not. And I think in many ways we also try to do that in the same way, where we try to hide behind our titles. We try to hide behind our qualifications, and we can actually become very prideful and arrogant in our approach towards society, towards people. And we find our worth and our value from the things that we do. And it's also living very dangerously, because if I fail at this title, if I fail at this qualification that I have drawn my worth and my value from, then I might experience a midlife crisis. I might even experience an identity crisis, because I thought I knew who I was according to what I was doing. I allowed that what I was doing to become my to become my identity. And therefore it made me actually very vulnerable. And I always feel intimidated by everybody else around me. I feel intimidated by other people's success, which makes me jealous. And I fail to celebrate other people in my life. I fail to work in synergy with my community and actually find, the worth and the value that other people can add into my life. I limit my growth, because I consider myself as an expert and everybody else around me not to know anything. And I can't learn anything from anybody around me, because I am the expert. I know more than others. And that can really limit my growth and stunt my growth to such a point that I actually fall behind. So let us not hide behind our titles, behind our qualifications, but actually find out what God is saying about us. And stay humble and stay in a place of teachability, where we are actually open to being taught by anybody that we meet in our life. We can always learn something from somebody, and this will excel the growth in your life in such a way that you might not have discovered in a very popular course or a very good book. There are certain things that books and courses can't teach us that we can find in the people all around us in our life. So always be on the lookout for these nuggets, for these little treasures that God has placed in other people for us to learn. Let's celebrate people. Let's be thankful for the people in our life and be thankful for who God made us to be. So I hope that this encourages you to look into yourself from a different perspective, and not to go into hiding. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to try and pretend to be something, but you are enough. And I want to say that again, you are enough. And believe that God's love towards you is all that you'll ever need. And from that place, you can grow and mature and discover your true identity.